Hello. Hi, Katalin.
Hi, Tarina.
So today I would like to ask you a couple of questions, and I would like to start with introduction. My name is Serena, and I'm the owner of Serena Translations and Language School, and I teach Dutch, English, Spanish, and Russian, mostly to Dutch people or to foreigners. Dutch as a second language. I am originally a maritime engineer, and that's why I also teach maritime English and business English in order to prepare people for job interview. So it's remarkable that you came from Hungary and you live in Stratford upon Avon in England, where William Shakespeare was born in April 1564. So I would like to I would like to introduce yourself and just to tell something in short. What are you doing there here?
Yeah, okay. Thank you very much, Tarina. It's an interesting conversation, interesting topic you brought in. Yes, I grew up in the heart of Europe, in Budapest, which is an old, 1,000 years old country, and I grew up in a large family. And probably an interesting fact that part of my life until the age of 10-ish, I grew up basically in the end part of this dictatorship of communism that was very influential on my life and shaped me in many ways. And it's interesting because as I grew up, at that time we didn't have opportunity at all to travel. We could only travel after the Iron Wall came down. That's when the world opened up. And then fortunately, I had the opportunity to travel, to study abroad, to travel to my grandparents and some relatives who actually escaped during the communism. So that the interesting first fact I want to just mention as an interesting thought, that the tragedy of those years could transform, how it transformed into an opportunity to the next generation, to me. Like my parents, grandparents, yes, my aunt, my cousins, many of them, and many families. Most families have a few members who had to escape because of the tough times of the Second World War and later the 40 years of communism. And that transformed into this great opportunity for us later on as we grew up, that now I have relatives almost everywhere and I could travel and visit them and use this in my life as a blessing almost. So that's the interesting thing, how bad things can turn into good things.
Wow,
that's one thought.
How nice is that? Yeah.
And yes, I have been living in Budapest and then a few years in England. And then I won a couple of scholarships, fortunately, in the United States, in New York State, and in also a couple of years on the West Coast in California. And finally, I ended up back in England where I got married. My husband is an Irish English, and we settled in Stratford upon Avon. So that's where we are at the present time. But it doesn't mean that we won't travel again. If life brings some opportunity, we will grab it probably. So, and I am actually my career path was also not so orthodox or traditional. I always been working with people, but career-wise, I've been a physiotherapist originally in my 20s, and in my 30s, and also a social worker. I was working with troubled youth kids. I was very interested though in more and more interested in the business world and leadership themes, and how is that some people able to get results, great results, some talented people able to, and some other talented people seemingly the same or better chances, like the successful one. Some just don't get those results, some groups or some individuals. And I was very intrigued by this. How is that possible that some people perform, some people don't? And what's the difference? And I dived into the general psychology and then organizational psychology, organizational leadership, and my last degree, the crown on the top of this career is it's called Master of Executive Coaching and Consultation, and that's what I'm actually applying now. All these experiences and knowledge and studies. Now I'm trying to use as an executive coach. That's what I'm actually doing today.
It sounds very interesting, yeah. And you changed 2 countries in how many years?
I did change. So what was the question again?
You first moved from Hungary to the United States to study, and for how many years did you?
First I moved to England for a couple of years to collect some money. That was the simple plan, for 2 years in 2011, and then in 2014 January I moved to the United States, and I moved back in 2018. And now since then I'm here.
So you went from Hungary to England, but what made you choose to move there?
It's at that time there was a trend. In 2005, as we joined the United Europe, it was a very, very exciting decade. What started at that point, and many people enjoyed the opportunity to work for a while abroad. Mm-hmm. I simply worked abroad. I worked in England. I spoke the language, so it was one of the obvious quick choice, and one of the best currency was at the time the British pound, just like today actually. It was just a sensible, reasonable choice for a couple. I didn't mean to move forever. I didn't know. I didn't plan to get married or settle here. So yeah, that was a job opportunity that brought me here, and then another scholarship opportunity that made me move to America. And then I was going to come back to Hungary, but somehow, meanwhile, I met my husband, who happened to be an English-Irish person.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I might go back though with him to Hungary. It's not we settled at the moment, but anything can happen.
Yeah, still. Nice to have opportunities and choices. And how do you fit in the new country and culture?
How do I fit in?
Mm-hmm.
It's a little bit hard to answer straight away. It's an ambivalent answer I can give, I guess. I don't necessarily. I believe it's one of the greatest challenge for a person to move and find yourself in a new country, new culture, new people. It's kind of a good way. It's a good personality test, and it's a good growth opportunity, because you have to really just learn a new culture, new language. And I chose not only travel, but I chose to do it the, I guess, hard way, to work and study with the people, or both America and England. And that's a better challenge, I guess. It's even more challenging than just traveling. How do I fit in? I always felt everywhere that I'm a foreign person, so it's not that quick. How do I fit in? I fit in well, but my identity always stayed. I had that at the moment, or for years, my identity still. It took for me for years to understand the culture. Looking back, I can understand how gradually I understood better and better the layers of the society and the different groups and the life approach, collectively different groups in different countries, different societies, different people's mentality. It's really different everywhere, somewhat. You can tell it's ambivalent what I'm going to say. It's contradicting, because in one way, one recognition is that people everywhere are just people. Let's say most simply, I could say there are good and bad characters everywhere. It's a true statement. At the same time, I can also tell that the stereotype ideas about countries, nationalities, and are kind of sort of true. I mean, I can tell why now, looking back. I can tell those, there are some characteristics we sometimes talk about how Americans are or how English people are, and those are somewhat true. It's not by accident. We have to be very careful with stereotyping groups and people. It's a balance, but I can't say that those stereotype thoughts are not true somewhat. How do I fit in? I always feel the difference, but I'm learning them. Continue. It's a process, and the longer I stay, the more I know people. The more people I know, and the more I know the culture. Yeah, that's in short, I guess. It's not an easy process, I have to say, for me personally. As much as I was brave to move around, it wasn't easy for me. I felt strangers often. I do still.
And what was your biggest challenge you have had to deal with in the UK? Or in the United States? You can also say if you have more challenges there.
I think it's a challenge. It's a good word, challenge. It's not necessarily a problem. I like the challenge, but I think is the biggest. But two aspects of it. So it's actually career, to build a career, to be accepted as a foreign, to get a job. I guess it was hard in America and in England too. I mean, certain jobs were easy, but the jobs I wanted, I guess it wasn't for me very easy. I felt that there is the language barrier, I think, one of the key. And because of the language barrier and the strain and the foreignness, I think even if they don't say it, I did feel it on the interviews that maybe they prefer, especially in England, I'm afraid. I think they have a preference for English people. I mean, that was my personal impression, but it might be biased and I might be wrong, but that was somehow that maybe it's a complex question, I'm not sure. So I think both professionally and people network, to build a network from zero, like you don't have any roots somewhere, it takes time, real time. So that one thing, to build friends and colleagues and network, like be known and know people, that takes a long time, 3-4 years easily until you feel settled. And that's a very intentional, it became a very intentional, I have become very intentional about it. So now the time, if I have to move to a new city or country, I'm very intentional to go out and I have places to go. I intentionally try to build relationships, not for using, understand me well, it's just I'm aware that it takes time and takes effort. So both professionally and personally, I think the network building is the hardest, and the language barrier in English still, for me, it was, even though I speak fluent English, I think I have quite high expectation for myself to speak it well and have a good vocabulary and not making mistake. And I think I was struggling with the language barrier a little bit, especially because I was studying in master level degrees. I kept facing my deficits or my challenges, my barriers in my language. I think that's in short, the network.
I think
feel rooted, feel my little root, that I have a little root already. That took a long time.
Yeah, but in any way, it's good that you accepted that change is inevitable, and you focus on how you can adapt successfully.
I'm very happy I've been through it.
So yeah,
I'm very happy I have been through this process. I can tell that I don't know exactly the step by step how it changed me, but I know I'm much stronger and in many ways more skillful.
And
there's a certain level of pride. I'm happy with it, that I've been through it in 2 countries. I know it's, I admitted that I think it's to excel, to get those degrees. I've got 3 master degrees in a foreign language, and I was able to stand firm, and that, you know, the weight behind me looks good, people wise and job wise, more people wise though, not so career wise. I mean, I was always working in that way, it was okay, but I reached a little bit of higher level of achievements in career wise. But even if the fact that I was continually working and I had continually, you know, when I say this weight, like the 2 big line behind me, as I traveled through my experiences, I have still good friends from both England and America who keep in touch with me today. Even if I left America years ago, we still talk almost every other week with some of my close friends. So I like family-like relationships. And yeah, so I'm quite happy with that experience. It was challenging, but I'm happy with what I left behind if I look back.
Nice attitude. And can you tell me about a specific thing you had never done before?
Can you, in what way? So what do you mean? What never done
Maybe,
before what?
anything which you learned in the United Kingdom, which you never did in your country?
In the United Kingdom, particularly, what I learned that I never knew before.
Or in United States, if you have that answer.
Oh, okay, that's easier actually. For some reason, I think I've been longer in the United States in one piece. So actually, I have closer relationships and better experiences there. Even though my husband is Irish, English is still. So actually, I just moved here a year ago again. No, it's not true. 3 years ago, but the 2 years of it was very busy with work, and I didn't. America was the longest time. In America, I spent the longest time, and that's where I lived more on my own. I need here a couple more years with my husband, I think, to feel that I belong here. I mean, I belong to him. I mean, we belong to each other. That's that's okay. But I'm talking about in the society. I don't feel yet here in England. It's also because of my previous job. I was in the healthcare industry, and I was very busy with working before I got married, and that means I just didn't feel that I belonged. I don't have many friends here yet. It's America where I can answer the question better, and I try to say something from both countries, but I think in America, I improved my goal-oriented mindset, competitiveness, achievement orientation. I think the Hungarian, Central European approach to life is just different. It's almost cliche, but the I can do it attitude is very true, exists legitimate in America. You are raised with that attitude there, and you can breathe it in yourself when you are existing there. That's just how you're expected to make it, to be a winner. That's a real American attitude, and I think that was very new and very different for me, who came from this oppressed country where you were, I mean, as a little kid, like there was some pride, national pride or whatever, but regardless our achievements, we thought the culture was thinking less of ourselves, even if we knew quality, even if someone has quality knowledge, they don't acknowledge it or don't respect themselves that much. The confidence, the competence, and the confidence level is way lower than an average American with less quality knowledge, for example. That's what I learned from them, that can-do attitude and how important to go for your goals. Yeah, it may sound cliche, but that's what I picked up there. Yeah. A bit more positive, a bit more courage. I think the American culture, so this is what I noticed in America. First of all, it's a giant country compared to a little Hungary. From Hungary, if you leave with your car in 6 hours, you can get to Venice, Italy, and you pass 3 countries. In America, from Buffalo, New York, where I lived, you have to travel 2 days just to leave New York State to get to Pennsylvania. And then 3 days from Pennsylvania. It took 2 weeks to get to the West Coast by car. And it's incredibly huge. It's something, for my mind, it was something very new. And so that's a different mindset. People, everybody came from somewhere. It's so diverse. In America, everybody came from somewhere. If not you, then your mother or grandmother. And it's really from everywhere. Could be Russian, Hungarian, Filipino, or Chinese, or African American. It's just a big mixture of everybody. If you think Europe as well, like that, many countries looks like that. But the America is just another level of it. If you are there, you would feel it. It's just, and because everyone came from somewhere, they have a better acceptance of foreigners, because themselves are kind of know that they came from somewhere. England, the biggest difference was this is a 1,000+ 100 years old country. They're all British, even though it's multicultural and they don't talk out loud about it, but you know that there is a British group and they are the British, and you're never going to become a British. But in America, you will become an American because that's what they promote, and that's how the culture is. That from the age of 6, if you move there and your kids start to go to school, every single day they have the pledge, the national anthem, like something every single kid in every single school in America will have to, from the age of 6 until 18. Every day they will say those sentences, how they, this respect to the American flag and God, and under one God and one nation. So they really kind of brainwash in a good way, I guess, everybody who is there to belong, to make a sense of belonging, like a sense of belonging. So you will develop easier in America the American identity, even if you grew up in Russia or Hungary, because that's what you expect it to do.
Yeah,
that's one of the key difference. That's why I think I felt sooner and more home in America. Actually,
is it something you embrace in England? Something you love there, in people or language or?
Yeah, I don't mean to be negative. It's just, as a foreign, it was easier for me to feel good in America because you are less foreign there. Even if they never say it, you don't have much experience, like direct experience. It's just something about the culture, the royalty, the who is British, who is not. It's here in the air, even if they don't say it. There is something about it. The good things I do admire. I love old cultures. What in America there is something missing because they have this 200 years or 250 years and that's it. And Russia, Hungary, England, we have this 1,000 and plus 500 years old cultures. They're very deep cultures. So I admire the culture, the education. England had a huge role in Europe during the last few hundred years, and you can feel the power here. Yes, it's a wealthy, deep culture, and I like it, just as I like it in Hungary and in Russia as well, or wherever. Old cultures in Europe are really to be admired and respected. It's just as a foreign, maybe it's easier in that new world in America where everyone started their life. And there's a strength about it. And that's another thing, that there is this attitude, mental, they know it or they don't know it, because they all came or their grandparents came from somewhere. All those American people have this experience of restart. Like they have that restart experience either in their own life or their parents or grandparents. So there is a strength about it. They are more ready to change, more ready for new things, because it's kind of natural to them. I could feel that in that culture. That's why everything happens in America, if you notice, really, even if there are lots of negative things to say, the new things come usually from there. And we usually, Europe and the rest of the world, we kind of, then we just kind of follow, like, what's happened there? And we all kind of followers. They are the big new inventors, just always there. And people who move from Russia, Hungary, or die. So always the scientists can make it there, but not. For example, I'm serious. The vaccine for COVID was actually invented. The Pfizer one is developed by a Hungarian woman who escaped from the communism and was actually ignored in the Hungarian academic world. And now she's going to get probably a Nobel Prize. And she was living 20 years in America, and that's where she had the chance. So that's the climate there, that you can do it and you will do it and dare to do it what you want. And I love that kind of culture. In England, I love the culture of history, that they indeed, especially in the few hundred years ago, so the influence what they had in Europe. There is a sad part of it, the colony and all those, of that exploiting other countries. That's not nice, but as a matter of fact, they had a huge, large, a wide, a broad level of the scientists. So they did bring value to the world with their science the last couple hundred years, England, and they were leaders in Europe, and that's something to admire again. Like I have to just acknowledge that.
Wow.
There's a rapid change what's going on, but that's my opinion. But in my own life, what was the question? What I learned from them, I'm just kind of soaking in all these different cultures, and the different mindset slowly. It's a slow process. You have to be there and work with them and have conflict with them and solve it. To experience all these, you need to learn with them, study with them, live with them. It's not enough 2 weeks. It's different level when you live with them.
And what describe a situation in which you were embarrassed then, or ashamed, or uncomfortable?
Ashamed, uncomfortable, or what? Sorry.
Yeah, ashamed or embarrassed or uncomfortable.
I think just I was annoyed because I could understand that sometimes I don't understand the culture deep enough, that I know I'm so a culture, there are habits, songs, even I don't know, there are things that the people who grew up there, they all know. And sometimes, very rarely, it's not a big deal, but sometimes I could understand that I have a big gray hole in my knowledge. Like I can live there, like I can belong there, but I just don't know those songs, you know, that every kid knows, that everyone could join in. Some aspects of the culture, I could just sometimes face it, that there's no depth in my culture there. Like I'm not belong there. I know Hungary that well. You know what I mean? I think it's not embarrassed. It's just I could understand that I don't have the knowledge that deeply. You can hide it. It's not something obvious. You can live there, work there, and be okay in England or in America or anywhere. But when you said, for example, I tell you an example. I went to volunteer at some point to an elderly home, like a nursery home, like where elderly people are who can't live there on their own. And I remember that I couldn't play with them as the other English volunteer who tried to entertain the elderly people one afternoon a week or whatever, because she knew exactly what these elderly people would know, songs, this famous World War II songs or whatever, some famous tune. And I was like, okay, everyone knew except me. That is not embarrassing, but I could see my lack of culture there. I also like about England, just as you were asking me what I liked. For example, I love the way how they communicate. There is a very typical, polite way of communication in England. There is a good and bad aspect to it, but basically I now want to emphasize the good. It's just everyone who grew up here and lived here will learn sooner or later. It's expected a certain level of politeness. You can't be direct to people. It's not always good though. That's the kind of shadow part of it. They're not very straight, this culture, which I as a Hungarian miss, because I just say what I think, and that's more normal at home. It's more the culture allows that straightforwardness. It's not very much allowed. That's not super good at all. But I do like the careful, gentle way of saying things. I tell you an example. Okay, again, an elderly person who wanted to ask me in her home to light a fire in the fireplace, which is in England a big thing. People have in their house fireplaces. And for example, she wouldn't want to tell me as an order, sort of. So she knew. It's just one example that even this very elderly, very sick, actually Alzheimer patient wouldn't say, put log on the fire. Log, you know, like wood. Log is wood. He wouldn't even say, please do it. They have a style for saying you that or asking you for it. For example, they would say, Katalin, would you like to put a log on the fire? That's the way. And that was for me a funny thing. Like, why would you say, like, am I like? No, I don't.
I don't.
But you don't say that because you feel it that you were asked. But the way, the polite, intelligent way, even the Alzheimer patient asks you to do something, is not an order. They can be rude in this culture. And actually, I like that part.
Nice.
In Hungary, probably they would just say, hey, do it, please. Please, maybe, if they are kind. Or put the log on the fire, please. Like something like that. But here, they would you be kind, or would you like to? Actually, they ask you if you're motivated to do that. It was like new to me, that subtle, the way they ask you to do something, they actually ask you to think about it if you want to do it. Do you understand what I'm trying to express?
That looks like a very intelligent way to ask. I would like to learn it too.
Yes, and this is the culture here, actually. If you're English, people will communicate, maybe not the immigrants or who came recently, but there is something about the culture that expect you to be polite this way, that you can't just be directly forceful.
Yeah.
Even in on the buses, like I can't, like, or the drive, they wanna in slow suburban areas, like not in the downtown, not in the city center, but like on the other outer areas of the city where larger families, or not larger, but families with little kids living, and they have little gardens. And how they would put, for example, outside a human form little stand, like a board sign, like a road sign, looks like a human, small, with some green or red or whatever, some warning. Their message is that be careful, drivers. There are kids here, drive slowly. But they wouldn't just write down drive slowly. They don't do this direct message. They would ask you to drive as your kid would. I think that was a sentence that, please drive as your kid would be playing here on the road.
This way, yeah, to put it.
Yeah, they everything they put in a nice way, that you have to think about it, that you are engaged in the motivation, you want to do it finally yourself. Like, it's just a nice way. They don't say please slow down or you must slow down. There's no order style. No ordering. It's imagine that your kid is here and drive like that. Or would you like to put the log on the fire?
Oh, very, very nice. Sounds very nice, interesting. And describe a time when you felt stressed or overwhelmed, and how did you handle it?
I think I think it was one of my job in America, for example, or here even. I think I was very happy with my personal friends and relationship and network. I had more challenges definitely in the career side of jobs. I think I didn't understand very well how. Sometimes I couldn't understand the local, neither in America. I have both countries experiences which was stressful for me at jobs, that I just wasn't sure. I think in England, actually, I was frustrated that they didn't promote me sooner or by my request, and I didn't get a proper. I missed the straightforwardness there. That what's wrong, because I thought I was all the degrees and all the experience and years. So I was just so. I'm sorry to say that, but I was so ready and would have been good at it at that manager level in the company job, higher management level, and I really knew that I'm offering something, and they wouldn't even call me in. And when they promised that they would, they just didn't get back, and I didn't get a clear, straightforward yes or no. And that, with my mindset, I was really relying on the promise, and they were kind of with this non-direct. It's just I didn't get straight. I think the most frustrating that I don't get sometimes straightforwardness. I don't understand it sometimes. I forget that they don't do it, and that's for me. Both in America, for example, I was recruiting for something, whatever, so an event, and they would smile into my face and say, "Yeah, sure, wow, how exciting! I would like to come." Actually, I believed it, that they would like to come, but when the event happened, they just wouldn't come, and it's just the culture different, that it's okay to be just chit chat, polite, and say things yes or no, whatever you think, just say yes what the other one wants to hear. And I think I was very frustrated a couple of times. Or, for example, one of my Hungarian fellow students in Buffalo, that he wanted to quit one of the class or postpone it for the next semester. And it's just a silly example, but it's typical, that he said at the registration office that he needs to quit that class. And the secretary person or registrar lady or whatever, she would like, "Oh, Peter, oh, wow, you want to give it up? Oh, Professor Quimby going to miss you so much." It's a very American way just to be polite. But my friend I remember that we were kind of confused. Like, really? Why would he miss me so much? Because it's something odd to say to a Hungarian from the secretary, like maybe the professor will miss you. It's just the way they just they are like that. They just say something nice. But for Hungarian, for example, in our Central European reserved culture, you don't say these things, miss you. Like, who would miss you? You miss your mother or love, or you don't do those things. And it's just a silly example how I remember it was the first month he was in America, and he was like, why would he miss me? And the second, there was just strange for him that we asked the question back. Yeah. Anyway, these are the silly examples. So I think the communication differences caused me some frustration. I lack of straightforwardness. It was just not clear. What can I expect after a yes or no? I learned nothing. I learned not much, or it's not sure. Something like that. That's the frustrating part, to be honest.
Yeah, I understand that. And what's the biggest misconception the natives have about you, and why?
The what? Natives? What do you mean?
Natives.
Sorry.
Yeah, what is the biggest misconception the natives have about you?
The natives are who? English, American, or Hungarian?
Yeah, English or American. Maybe they think that you are like this because you are coming from Hungary, but it's totally wrong what they are thinking about you.
Yeah, probably there are some stereotype ideas.
Yeah, I mean stereotype. Yeah.
Yeah, probably. I'm not sure so directly what the misconception. I guess in general, I think the world misunderstands what Hungary's role is and what Hungary looks like. And I guess, especially in America, they really have some absolute misunderstanding of, I don't know, they probably would think that we belong to Russia. I speak Russian. Seriously, they think we are next to Russia. That was multiple times. Those things came back to me. Like I said, no, I'm next to Austria, right in the middle. Russia is like 24 hours away. It's a huge trip for us. I've never been there. That was, I think, annoying. This joint, how they put us somewhere else and not knowing us for ourselves. I think that's annoying. Because of the history, because they know this East Europe still, East, West, and then East is all Russia, and West is only Germany, Sweden, and England, maybe. Oh no, German, Italy, France, England, or UK. That's it. What they know about Europe. Many people. That those are the countries' name they able to recall, and that there are other 50 countries at about in Europe that's unfortunately not known. So I guess it's just the lack of any kind of knowledge. Like what is that? Hungary? Are they don't know food? Like what, hungry? You know, the name. Are you hungry? Ha ha ha. That was a joke.
Yeah, it's I'm going to take an interview with a girl from Hungary. Are you hungry?
Yeah, those kind of things.
Funny. And can you tell me an example or a time when you were communicating with the English and they didn't understand you?
On a very practical level, no, my English is good enough on a very simple level. The other level, I mean, I think only that kind of subtle ways that, for example, deals like jobs, again, the job interview is like, okay, now what can I rely on, or what does, so for me, yes means yes and no means no. And I can't understand yes, but finally no.
Okay, yeah.
I think these are the misunderstandings that probably I don't speak that language, which is not clear.
Okay.
Not straight.
Yeah, it's okay, they understand you, but it's more than what they say and how they say it and how you say it.
It just took a while until I realized that I really have to step back and try to hear what they mean when they talk. Is it a real yes, or just a yes for politeness for the moment, or it's kind of odd. Like I'm really, really straightforward, I think, and that's, I really approach it. I think it's a good thing, and I really have trouble sometimes. I think now I learned it. I don't have trouble. It's not true. It's just sometimes some frustration, and I had to learn it to just accept it that these short talks, or I guess the culture of little talks that doesn't mean much. Just yeah, I think it's strange here that you can make statements about the weather and stuff like that, or you know, like the short talk culture, chit chat culture, like
small talk, yeah.
small talk culture, yeah. Like yes, like if you say how are you, it doesn't mean I want to know. You know, you don't stop saying, you just say how are you, and bye bye. You walk. That those things, but I don't try to be negative. It's kind of, so I can be very critical, but I do admire, again, everywhere, the culture and the people, and there is sometimes an underlying realization how similar we are beside everything, different culture, how people are just people and their needs are always on a deep level the same for me and for you and for whoever in the world.
Yeah.
So it's not like I don't like, I dislike. I really appreciate it. I did learn a lot. I did get stronger, I guess. I hope. I believe. And yeah. And I understand more. I actually learned about my own culture. A lot of things that I didn't understand until I was living in my own culture. Yeah, I actually learned a lot about Hungarian mindset since I understand how we are compared to others.
Yeah.
I think I see more positives than I used to. I had a lower, I think we have very low self-esteem collectively in Hungary. But I think it's a lot of oppression and dictatorship and all those. And I think if you come out and you look around, there are lots of things to be kind of proud of or be happy with. It's not that bad as we like to think sometimes at home. So a lot to appreciate. And I like that I figured that out. I'm sad still listening to my home, friends at home, sometimes the reactions, like, there's a biased idea that, oh, the neighbor's grass is always greener, but it's not always true.
Yeah.
So does it make sense? I hope.
Yeah, nice that you're coming to this realization now. You had the experience living in two different countries, and now you appreciate finally your own country. It's nice. Yeah. And
to be honest, I had another country. I mean, the Middle Eastern country also. I didn't live there, but I had a decade of my life, and I had to work with a lot of Iranian Middle Eastern people, and I had very close and long-term relationship with a few Iranian. And I've been there actually a couple of times. So actually, I have that aspect, that it's strong influence at a certain big period of my life before I left Hungary. It's just an interesting thing. So there is this multiple. It's not only America and England. On a deeper knowledge level, I didn't live there for fact. That's for sure. It's a different level, but I worked with them for years and knew them very well, how their mind is. Some people from Iran.
How are they?
For example, it's my subjective opinion, but I do sense there again the huge, deep, not only 1,000 but like 4,000, 5,000, 6,000 years old culture. You can sense it in them. It's so beautiful, actually. I was very much impressed also by the conservative roles, the clear roles of this in the society. It's not popular in Europe, but actually it's something beautiful. The organized their mind is about roles, about, as crazy as it sounds, the man role and the woman role. I don't like male chauvinism. That's terrible when it's abused. But actually, the order, how nicely they lived. I was very impressed when I was there. How organized, how there was no mess around it. So everyone was happy and organized with their own role. Except, yes, the society, if it's more than normal, if it's more than these healthy, I would call them healthy, clean, clear roles. I don't like the abuse part. That is, unfortunately, the distortion in that society, that it is allowing you, if you're a man, to abuse women. And that is terrible. And that I did dislike. So I would never choose that country to live. But I appreciate their culture and their poems, their music, their food, their, again, the conservative old style of living, in how families living. There are lots of things that was beautiful as an experience. But yeah, there are some issues that I wouldn't be able to live with. And one of them is male chauvinism. And the I guess the other one is, again, that they are in a different way straightforward. They are not straightforward either. It's very difficult to understand what they really want sometimes.
Yeah. So differences in cultures. Yeah.
They give different understanding. You say something and you think you agreed, but they can change the meaning of it later, something like that. I can't better explain it. Not they. I mean, in my experience, there is a cultural way. There's a way to re-explain things, how they meant it later on. So, and also it was very interesting how indeed, as you go more Eastern direction, the community is more important than the individual. In my culture, you are celebrated as an individual. That's, I guess, the old Christian and old Muslim, the difference, like culture-wise, like now culture, I'm talking culture, not religion, but culturally, the Christian idea is that you are God's child and you're celebrated your birthday as an individual, you're valuable, regardless who religious, who's not. All the European culture and also Russian, all these Orthodox ones, on the Christian side of the world, they celebrate the person. However, the more Eastern you go, and the Islamic mindset is more, the community is important, and you actually die for God anytime and for your Islamic view, and it's just totally different. And we are very analytic and they are very intuitive. Like for us, is more things should be more clarified, like in contract, and they just agree on a word level and they can change it. It's just I said now different things, but those are my key takeaways as I work with them. How beautiful and emotional and very, very nice friends. But then again, we have a different in our world here, in the European world. I think we have a better understanding of, and a different level of understanding when it comes to like restart or improve relationship or forgive, maybe. If there is a mistake happens, I think revenge has a bigger cultural role, and that's scary. So they were super friendly and super supportive and super generous when they want to. Once you have a conflict, the conflict resolution doesn't happen in the way we would expect here in Europe, like, let's say, cultural way, like, hey, let's talk and clarify things. They actually will act sometime. I think by culture, they can do revenge, and it's more accepted than here.
Oh.
The eye to eye, tooth to tooth mentality is more there than here, accepted. The here is Europe, the there is the more Middle Eastern. Does it make sense to you? That's my experience anyway. Yes, that's what I felt.
Yes. And did you get chance to meet Iranians during your life in Hungary? What was it for job?
Yeah. I worked with them in Hungary a lot.
But what
they were living there, these people.
Oh, they were living there. Okay.
They were students there, yeah.
Ah, okay. And
while we did projects together.
Ah, you did projects. Which projects did you do together?
They were studying. There are lots of people coming from the Middle East to Budapest because it's a little cheaper than America, but it's still free and it's still very good, the education. And we have English education. Doctors, dentists, veterinarians, the animal doctors.
Is it still free now?
Not free for them, but it's cheaper.
It's cheaper, yeah.
Than America, but very good. So yeah, there are thousands of Iranians in Budapest who come there for just studying because their parents can pay, they are in Europe, they can travel. It's kind of free though, compared to Iran.
And what for project did you do together with them for work?
We actually, no, it was a group of students who became friends, and we actually made a movie, a video clip, nice. Sort of a short movie of the orphans I've been working with. At that time, I was more with troubled kids, and they wanted to be engaged. They were very moved by they created a foundation, and they were actually very generous, very helping. They were very charity minded.
Nice. Yeah, nice experience anyway. And but now back to your situation. Do you ever feel judged in the United Kingdom?
Not yet. I don't. In the United Kingdom, my greatest challenge, in short, exactly that I didn't have yet a chance to develop the kind of network
Mm.
I a healthy network I like, especially last. So actually, I've been living in America until 2018, and then I had a very intense work period, but very isolated way. So I actually didn't have time to go out and get to know people yet here. And then when I got married after the COVID hit and we were in lockdown, I just didn't have a chance to
Okay.
hang out with people. And I moved to this new place. This is within England. I also moved, by the way, because of my job. That's the thing. Within England, I was not only in one place. I had to move with the company to different cities time to time, and I never had a route any kind. I was living in Buffalo most of the time in America.
Mhm.
Actually, 4.5 years. That was a super steady situation. In England, I was moving to London, to Bedford, to Grimsby, to Stratford-upon-Avon. It was crazy work-wise, and I couldn't get to know people as I don't have a steady background here
No, I
at all.
understand. Yeah.
It's the one person I have is my husband, and then again, COVID lockdown didn't allow me to do
I
anything.
understand. Yeah. So
I didn't leave this city town.
yeah.
It's not a city, it's a town. It's a small town. I didn't leave this town until most recently.
Mm. So I can probably better ask you, did you ever feel judged in the United States? You have more experience.
I
Yeah.
don't think I feel judged there. Misconceptions a little bit about, but nothing really. It's just rather ignorance or lack of knowledge. But no,
No, not
they not judged. That's what was good about America. You don't feel judged there. I think you feel just you are here as we are here.
Mm.
Everyone is here if they want to be here, kind of attitude.
Yeah.
It might be changing. So their racist or attitude is not to white as a white person, to be very, very straightforward. You have no issue in America. If you are not white, they do have racist tendencies.
Yeah.
Some. But I had no issues. If I would be Mexican or black, probably
Yeah, like
I would have had.
lucky you. And tell me about one of your favorite experiences.
I think the fact, look, not one experience. I mean, practically, I love the water skiing. It was one of my experience because we don't have much. I just never done it in Hungary. I've done it in America, and jet skiing and all that. I
Oh,
quite liked it.
where did you do it? Which city?
In America.
Mm-hmm. In which city? Which
On Lake Ontario and yeah, Lake Erie, the 5 big lakes, one of them, and two of those great lakes. And otherwise, as a process, if I have to pick one event, or I actually did like these adventures events of sport, extreme sport, kind of, and not extreme, but whatever. For me, it was kind of new. And otherwise, I do love my friends. They're really, really quality friends. I finally developed, even though the American style is not so deep, not so strong. Relationally, they are very good. Competitiveness and goal setting and achievement wise, performance side is you can learn a lot. From relational side, actually, they can learn from us. It's more deep, more genuine in Europe in general, in my opinion. At least what I've seen so far. At least in Hungary and also in England, it's more genuine, more deep, less superficial. I don't know about other countries actually. I know Hungary, Germany, Austria, England. I don't know the country where you are. But I still, over time, developed very good friendships.
That's good. And can you describe the best the best English partner or English friend? What are the qualities?
I think that's regardless of nationality. I think it's just safe people, are people who even if you are not present, they will cover your back. They will be for you too in any situation. They not just nice to you when you are there. They even protect you when you are not present and there's a question, or it's kind of those people, and people who won't manipulate, people who will consider me. I think it doesn't matter what country we mention at the moment. So my friends are anywhere. The real close, safe people are safe people regardless their nationality, safe people because their character is good, that they won't lie to me, that they will be reliable, that they genuinely care about me, and it's mutually, we can call each other, we can reach out, these kind of things. I can trust them. It's very cliche, but that's what they are, those friends. Everywhere, in Hungary and in America too.
And who are your friends now?
I have a few friends from Hungary who I keep in touch regularly, and a few friends from America. Those are the people my closest out of my family. I have family too and of course my husband is that's at my current present time, since I'm married, my husband is my number one person too, in every way.
Now, which qualities are you admire in your husband?
Yeah, I think the graciousness, the generosity, the forgiving, encouraging, regardless, he could be upset with me or I was making a mistake, he's just going to protect me and be gracious.
Nice.
I think that's very beautiful in him. He's super generous, super loving, forgiving, wants the best at any case, these kind of things.
Yeah, sounds like a very nice person. So
He
sounds
is a
you're
very nice
lucky.
person. I am very blessed, yes.
Yeah.
With him, that's true. I don't know how interesting it is to the people who are listening to this.
Yeah, okay. No, we
but,
take, yeah.
No, I mean, in general, I talk a lot about myself, but I'm not sure what do you think? How could I talk that it's interesting to them? Like help them? Like what would help the people who you want to help?
Maybe the quality you said, so the people know, but that there are some nice English guys with this quality.
Irish more, but yeah. I know
Irish.
Yeah. I'm seeing there's a difference, but of course, everywhere you will find good people, everywhere. Problematic and good as well, everywhere.
Yeah.
And everywhere we will like the people who trustable, and we can turn to them vulnerably and they won't abuse us or won't cheat or won't lie or won't, regardless business or personal level. We always want transparency and kind of correct or fair or genuineness, right? These same things.
It's universal values, yeah. And can you tell me something you really miss from your own culture there?
Interestingly, I don't really miss much, but I always love to go back, and I have it's very dear to me, that origin, and I would love to go back to live there. It's only economical reason, and that my husband is Irish, that at the moment we don't live there, but we are seriously thinking to move back. And what do I miss? Otherwise, I think only the straightforwardness sometimes.
Yeah.
And the depth of people, how they relate to each other, maybe.
Do you miss some food?
Yeah, I think maybe nowadays I changed my diet, and now I do a little bit. I eat more meat recently, and I think we have some good source of organic farm food that I don't know yet how to find it here.
Oh, I know Hungarian goulash.
Yeah, that's good.
It's very famous. Yeah.
Yeah, it can be good. In America, they think it's a pasta, but it's a soup.
Ah. Okay. Yeah. And describe a time when you applied for a job, and how did it go?
Where? Anywhere?
No, maybe in the United States or in England, where did
Believe
you
or not, in England it was on a high. I felt like there's a ceiling for me, like they don't want me on a higher level. So on only a lower levels in the company I could get a job. In like anyway, so not on the middle or higher management level. And And in America, it was very similar to the Hungarian experience. It was more normal, more genuine conversations. I mean, not genuine, but like kind of interesting. The American was good experience. They had interesting questions and they were really interested about my answers. The English one is not very. No, I think they didn't really. They were not very. I'm still disappointed about that one. That when I went for the higher level jobs, they didn't care. They didn't want to listen. They promised they will, and they wouldn't.
No, it's a pity. And but did you get this job in United States where you applied?
Yeah, yes, I did. But I had a limited work permit, so I couldn't stay there. It was not easy to extend it. It was impossible nearly. So I left. That's why I came back. One reason.
Okay, but it was just a normal interview. You sent your CV.
Yeah.
Maybe, and then for vacancy, and you had a conversation with.
No, actually, it happened through my network. I just met somebody who I had a conversation, and she happened to be a director of an agency, and
nice.
she invited me.
Okay.
I was actually managing a coffee shop at the time, and she in America, and we had a chat, and she said, I told her what I'm actually studying and what the experience I had, and she said, come in to an interview.
Oh, you were lucky too there. So it's important who you know.
Yeah, that was good. A good experience.
And what for questions did they ask during your interview? Do you know
what population? I'm not sure I understand that question.
When you were doing interview for your new job, were there some difficult questions, or what did they ask you?
No, they were very interesting questions, but it was the agency was about foster parents. It was a foster parent trainer center and a child welfare center as well. So we helped kids who were at foster parents to be reintegrated in their family of origin. So it was difficult kids, and I had to coach or be present at the interviews, not interviews, when the mother of origin, the biological mother had to meet first once a month or once in 2 weeks or once a week with their kids. The foster parents had to bring the kid there, and it depends on the judge's decision, but in the beginning, usually there is a supervised meeting for the mom and kid, and that's where I had to be a lot.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's the top theme. That's the topic of this agency. This is the area they were working, and so the interview questions were actually one I remember, which was funny to me to ask. They said, as a person develops, is it more genetic or is it more the environment that influences? What do I think of that question? Nurture or nature? Like, is it the relational with the mother, or you were born with genes that determine your future? It's an old argument in psychology. But really it's both. That's the short answer.
Okay. So yeah, sounds like a difficult question.
No, that was just an interesting one that they asked. Yeah. That's why I remember. But otherwise, just they had good questions there. Why do I want it, and what's my plan, and how do I see myself, and I don't know, my experiences, and these kind of things. Like everywhere, I guess.
Yeah, and tell me about the toughest decision you had to make.
Okay. In America. 1 second. I'm so sorry, but it's gonna turn off. I really don't know. I didn't have tough decisions. It was a personal romantic relationship that I had to stop. It was dysfunctional, and I was stuck in it for a while. And I guess that was the hardest process for me to grow up, to mature in my character. And that process was painful and that's it. That was the toughest decision actually in America.
And what's the biggest goal you have achieved?
I think the 3 master degrees in the abroad, the 3 master degrees in America. 2 I won, and 1 I was able to make enough money to pay for it, which is very expensive. So that kind of that I with this moving away from Hungary and gaining all these experiences and getting my degrees, I was able to launch a new career path for myself. I craved, or I was able to restart my life career-wise on a higher level, and every level. I really climbed up levels in my life, changed levels in everything. Like the fact that I'm married with a healthy, kind man, and I was able to engage in a healthy relationship, that's a big deal. That's a huge development from my side, a decade probably work. Plus this new career with the executive coaching, and that I can build in all the old experiences with the difficult kids, with different countries, different jobs. I guess that's gonna be it's a promising future now. Not easy though, but not easy though. No startup is easy, but yeah, I guess this is quite an achievement that I put myself in this position. I was able to find this position. I could have just stuck with 1 degree, which I didn't like, the physiotherapy. I didn't like enough anyway. But I did search and I did 1 scholarships, and that's a big deal. It's psychology and leadership, and so I can call myself now a leadership expert, and that's a big deal. I think that's my achievement.
Sounds great. And what is your vision for future?
Well, I think hopefully, if it's my vision, on a personal level, I would love to have a kid, if possible for me yet. That's a dream, and a career in the executive coaching and consultation, and help individuals and companies to grow, to be the better themselves, to help them to get where they want to get, to facilitate that process. That's the job I'm trying to grow into. That's the vision, to become a very, very respected coach and consultant within 5 years. Or at least to myself, I want to know that I did my best.
Sounds great. And yeah, I would like to ask you a couple of questions about language. Why is it so important to learn a new language quickly?
Well, it depends on your goals, I guess. I don't know if it's important to learn language quickly. If it's aligned with your goals, it can be. You have the chance to move to that country where they speak that language, to work. If you live somewhere where they don't speak your language of origin, your mother language, then it's super important to be quick and efficient. And you definitely need a good teacher like you. Otherwise,
thank you.
It's definitely crucial to have a good language support, learning support facilitator or group if you move to a country. Of course, you can't afford in a new country not to speak their language. You destine yourself, or your destiny, your future will be way. So to exploit your opportunities, you must have the language of the country where you live.
Right.
The highest level you can achieve. It's just people will respect you more. They will appreciate that you made the effort. It's good for your brain. You don't get dementia probably as soon as otherwise you would have had. It's a good prevention. Keep your brain and mind fit. And that's an amazing experience to be able to communicate. Especially if it's not your country, then it's critical. Otherwise, I'm not sure. In general, the statement, why is it important to learn quickly? It's only important if it's important to you. If you do business, if you live in a new country, then it's very important, obviously. It's the key to your everything. To get a job, to get friends, it's key. It's critical to be able to build your life properly in a country, to know their language. If you're just very weak at that Dutch language, they speak there.
Dutch, yeah, we speak Dutch.
The Dutch, it's very, if you are poor at it, they're just not going to respect you as much. They're not going to embrace you as much. You open doors for yourself. If they go to your school, people who go to your school, they open great doors for themselves. It's a good investment. That's what I think.
What are the 3 things that are most important to you in how to learn a new language?
I think I'm not a teacher, but I think I think it's critical, the daily exposure to the language. If you want to be quick, that you must learn every day a new language, listen to or read something, is your brain exposed. So you even if not hours, but every day a little bit, you can't do it just once in a while and learn it. Our brain requires this daily exposure to something to get better for real. So I would say I'm not a professional to say this, but I always felt that the more I listen to the language in TV or read, the more I read, unnoticed, it's not noticeable on a daily level, but in a few months time, it's very noticeable if I have done my daily 15 minutes reading in English or not. If I learn 5 days, 5 words a week or not. In a year time, it's a lot of new words if you really learn it. So I think it does require, I think, intentionality, daily little steps, and a facilitator, teacher, group. It's much more, you're much more successful if you have accountability group, which is a language group. If you have no choice, if it's not on your mood. Some people have the structure in themselves, but it's not, many don't know how to do it for themselves. It's way more safer. Actually, I can tell that like you really triple your chances to learn a language if you join a language group. It's almost impossible doing anything new without people's support and a good teacher, good structure. Structure is critical. If you don't know how to do it, you must reach out. And yes, my tip for everybody: watch every day some YouTube, read every day, intentionally learn words, and join a group. I think if you're serious, you have to. And don't think that you can just not learn and learn it. You need to invest energy and time. That's just, you have to accept it. I think people a little bit, but it's not exhausting, not painful. It's just that daily discipline of doing it. If you want result.
What do you think? What is the biggest challenge when it comes to learning a new language?
Out of the comfort zone, then you're just not knowing, going from not knowing to the knowing. That process is out of our comfort zone as always, and that's just very difficult on our own. So it's more possible if you have 2 or 3 sessions a week, groups, that you have to go because you paid it and you are committed, and that's the way. That's the hard part. If you're on your own, I think people fail on their own. 99%. Wow. They don't learn on their own. It's very, very, very rare, that level of discipline, and it's almost now. That's what I say. You need people in a group, and you need structure, what your teacher can give you, who is experienced. So that's the key.
Yeah, and how do you find the right course if you want to learn a new language? I
guess if you're in a new country, then you must rely on the reviews of the, I guess, and go on Google, and which couple most famous comes up. So it's worth. So I will search on the internet, and I will ask people who done it before. That would be my very simple idea. Who has done a course before? I will ask my friends what do they recommend.
Yeah, good one. Yeah. And what's the most interesting thing about you that's not mentioned before?
Well, I'm not sure. I think this unorthodox, very diverse experience, material, the experiences, I don't know, that's probably the most interesting I mean, that is very not unusual amount of studying and unusual amount of traveling in different countries, I guess. But it was mentioned, so I'm not sure right now. I don't know what would be very interesting to the audience.
Maybe what, tell me something unique about you.
I love learning. I love learning, I guess. And I love people, as crazy as it sounds. I love people, as strange as it sounds. I have a genuine care, love for people. Yeah, I think that's an interesting thing about me. I think it's something that people don't say.
No. Nice. So we are at the end of our interview. Thank you very much. And if you know somebody struggling with the language, I will be happy to help. And if you are curious for our other interviews with other foreigners living abroad, please subscribe to our YouTube channel, Tsarina Language School. And for you, Katalin, enjoy the journey